Hello, goddess beings. Welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Sisterhood podcast. My name is Mary Wright, and I am your host. And today is Friday the 13th. And I don't know about wherever you are in the world, but it feels delicious today. So, today is actually a very, very powerful divine feminine goddess day. So the whole bad omens that, we have been deeply ingrained and, we've been taught that Friday the 13th, bad things happen. And it's actually we've been taught that it's an unlucky day, actually is very, very far from the truth. So that story, that narrative of Friday the 13th being a bad omen was actually just a part of the methodology and the systematic oppression to keep women out of their power, to keep the goddess energy underground and diminished as the templates of tyranny and power and greed and control were established through the planet. So in ancient teachings, in ancient times, this day, it was a very, very highly revered day when the 13th of the month aligned with the day of the week being Friday. Why? So let's talk about Friday for a moment. So the day of the week, Friday, actually is Venus Day. It holds the energy of goddess Aphrodite, who is also known as Venus. So when we think of Aphrodite, she has these beautiful replenishing waters. She is the goddess of love, of sensuality. She's that goddess that's going to invite you to drink wine and eat beautiful dark chocolate and to surround yourself with roses and pour yourself a salt bath. She's that goddess of self-care and self-love and the goddess of lover energy. So romance, whether it be yourself and a partner or just yourself, she is an incredible energy to work with, especially when we're feeling disconnected from our feminine energy, when we know that we've, been working too much or we're lacking our creative flair. She's just such a very powerful, revitalizing, renewing energy to call in to, bring freshness into our lives. It's kind of like, you think about summer, the season of summer, how, the nights go so late before the sun falls below the horizon. So people are out and about, they're with their family, they're with their friends, they're having barbecues. Everything is just in such fruitfulness. The trees are producing, the fruits are producing, the flowers are in abundance, and everything has such a potent aliveness. That is Aphrodite, and that's the energy that we actually experience every Friday. And it's funny because I've been an entrepreneur for I don't even know how many years now at this point. So I don't exactly just take weekends off like I would when I was working 9 to 5. I take random days off throughout the week, and usually I take Sunday, Mondays off because that's when my husband takes off from work. But even on Fridays, even though I'm no longer, in the work week box in a sense, in that we'll call it a box, the work week box, because it is a box. I still very much feel, Friday energy. There's an excitement in the air. You can feel everybody that does work at an office, that buzz in the air that's like, yes, it's the weekend. This is all exciting. And the weekends technically don't really affect me, but I can still feel it. And so this is that Venus energy. It's like this opportunity and this excitement and that replenishing, rejuvenating, supple energy. Yeah. So Friday in general, very powerful, beautiful day, beautiful energies coming through. And then when we combine it with the number 13, so 13 is a very powerful feminine energy number. It's a goddess number. It's very powerful to witches, to priestesses. Many covens and many sister circles will have 13 sisters in it because there's so much power with 13. And that's because there's 13 moon cycles in a year. And so for women that bleed regularly with the moon, they would bleed 13 times in a year as well. So it's a very fertile number. It's a very powerful, lucky, abundant, prosperous number. It's a wonderful number to, bless with, to set intentions with, to manifest with. So when we have 13 landing on Friday, Venus Day, it's this very potent, ripe, divine feminine energy. And it's a day to celebrate and to honor the divine feminine and to worship the goddess and honor and celebrate that cyclical nature that is the divine feminine of, the creative death and rebirth cycles, the death and rebirth cycles in our energy, the death and rebirth cycles that we go through in our menstrual cycle, not to mention all of the different phases of womanhood. We are cyclical creatures. We don't operate from a linear path. We are always evolving. We are transforming. We're moving like the ocean. The ocean doesn't flow in a linear way. There's days where her energy is tumultuous and her waves are dangerous, and there's days where her waves are gentle and could rock you to sleep. So that is that beautiful feminine energy that when we learn how to harness it, we can really tap into infinite expansive creative cycles and very deep states of magnetism to really, powerfully draw in our desires. And, from the feminine, we're able to be very clear, open conduits of the divine, of the goddess, because we are receptive beings. Our energy is naturally yin, and so we draw energy in. We're able to draw in downloads, draw in ideas, draw in messages and so forth. So it's just a very, very exciting and powerful day, and it just feels so delicious here today. I saw rainbow clouds out in the sky, which always really, really excites me when you can see like clouds that are reflecting pinks and blues and purples, even though there's no rain. It's one of my favorite things. I always take it as a message from my cosmic team and from the angelic realm. And it's very warm today. I think it's about 12, maybe even 14 degrees Celsius. It's a beautiful fall day. Everyone's just out. It's all super exciting. And there is a very, very palpable energy out in the air today. And I went and purchased some beautiful white and pink daisies. And I'm just feeling really that divine feminine pleasure, that divine feminine juice just channeling and flowing through me and really pouring through my heart and opening up my womb space. And so I just really felt called to hopping on here and sharing with you this ancient teaching of what Friday the 13th is. It's not a bad omen day. It's actually an incredibly lucky day. It really amplifies any sort of manifestation or intention that you set out into the universe. So it's a great day to drop in and express your gratitude for the goddess, for Mother Earth, for everything that she has provided, as well as to set your intention of where are you expanding into? Where are you going? What do you desire to birth? What do you desire to create? And that divine feminine energy, with it being Venus Day, with it being the 13th, it just will propel that out into the universe to help align you to that faster. So I also felt very called to intertwine into this conversation. I am someone that is in the divine feminine healing arts. And so I work very closely with the goddess, but I also equally worship the divine masculine because I have the divine masculine within me. In fact, most of my life, most of my younger years, I operated from the masculine and more the shadow aspects where I would over push myself. I would expect like crazy. Had such a high standard and high expectations for myself and this insane level of perfectionism that if I didn't achieve it, I would guilt myself. I wouldn't give myself permission to rest. I was very controlling and rigid of my schedule and the way that I lived my life. And that was so out of alignment with my true divine feminine nature. So as I started to do this healing of my own feminine energy, once you really have worked on your feminine, then you kind of you shift into beginning to work more with your masculine, so that you can shift out of the shadow masculine into more of the divine masculine, to really hold you in your feminine frequency, because the feminine can only expand and play and dance and create and literally, expand out as much as she feels held and safe by the masculine. And so something that I've really noticed in some of the goddess circles that I've sat in the past, or just goddess teachings, and, some teachers that are in the divine feminine healing arts, is there's this energy of disgust towards the masculine because of what the masculine has done in the past. And this is where we are talking about like those tyranny energies that have created these structures and systems of separation, of false power, of greed and corruption. The thing is, I understand like all women have to go through a process when we are doing the healing on the feminine to release our anger and rage that we have felt collectively and held from our ancestors for thousands and thousands of years, from everything that went down. Like there's a very shady history of the war on the feminine, the genocide on women, with the witch trial days, with the priestess temples burning, and where basically as the church systems was establishing itself as a patriarchal system where it was one god, a masculine god that they wanted people to worship, they severed the connection to the feminine by basically making her go underground, by taking her out of ancient texts. So yes, there is a collective rage. There is deep-seated rage that we feel within our bodies, that we have to go through our own processes of healing and releasing and integrating it. But there comes a point where we need to forgive and release the masculine to allow him to rise up into all that he can be. And moving forward, the future of humanity, these templates that we're laying and bringing in with New Earth, is very much sacred union. It's very much the marriage between the divine sacred feminine and the divine sacred masculine. And by that, I'm not necessarily talking about marriage between man and woman. I'm actually talking about the marriage within us, of healing and integrating the masculine and feminine energies within us, which we will then see reflected out in the external reality of men and women coming together to work together, to heal together, to come into harmony together with planet Earth, so that there's a future for humanity that is harmonious, that is filled with love and peace and equality and harmony. I guess I said harmony twice, but that's all right. You get my point. And so in order for us to be able to come into that Christ consciousness template, which is the marriage of the masculine and the feminine within and without, in order to flood our planet with the Christ consciousness templates, which will basically activate people into being more in their heart center, more grounded on earth, clear open conduits for the divine, and recognizing and understanding that they are an embodiment of God or goddess, however they identify, which is so beautiful when people recognize their power and recognize the blessing and the honor that it is to be God consciousness in human form. So for us to get to that place as women, especially those that are in this divine feminine healing art place, this space, to really look at where are we still holding disgust, resentment, anger, rage towards the masculine. And I often see the word patriarchy thrown around with, like, there's such an energetic imprint and signature to the word patriarchy because it holds that thousands and thousands and thousands of years of trauma with that word patriarchy. So often when you hear, we got to smash the patriarchy, or, the patriarchy effed us over, or whatever. It's held in disdain, and to me, yes, these systems that were built from a patriarchal hierarchical structure in which it was worshiping a masculine god, yes, it caused a lot of pain. It caused a lot of trauma. A lot of people died and were abused and so forth on behalf of it. But it also created a lot of really amazing things, like the advancements in technology, the roads that we built, our architecture, and so forth. The masculine energy is the execution of our creative ideas, and so yes to worshiping the goddess, yes to doing our divine feminine healing work, but what about the masculine? In order to call that masculine energy up into his divine aspects, we have to stop anchoring him to old wounded warrior and tyrant templates. So I invite you to take this day and tap into the goddess and feel that goddess frequency moving through you, because every cell of your being, you are holding that divine feminine energy, that goddess energy, the nectar of the goddess. And, do a yoni worship ritual, a yoni puja, which is a ancient sacred tantric ritual that was established in India thousands of years ago, in which, maybe you ordain your yoni with flowers and oils, and you listen to music and you have candles lit, and you just honor the temple of your yoni and honor that gateway to the divine feminine that is direct through your yoni, which is so incredibly powerful when you do that, because that divine feminine energy just floods through you. And the more you do practices like this, where you're really worshiping the goddess within you, really worshiping, the temple that is your body, you expand your ability to hold more feminine frequency, which comes in the form of radiance and creativity and strong feminine magnetism and that beautiful, vital life force energy. That very fertile, potent, palpable, luscious energy. But then also checking to see, how are you actually honoring the masculine within you, or the masculine outside of yourself? Just like we can do yoni worship, there's also lingam worship. We can do cock worship on our partners if he's open to it, or on a friend if, that's your guys' dynamic. Or if you're not comfortable doing it with a man, just like getting a phallus-shaped crystal, or for me, I have an altar built for the divine masculine, which I have a sword in a stone, and I have big branch that to me is very anchoring and grounding, and I just, I sit in front of that divine masculine altar and I worship him, and I just thank him. I thank him for providing and protecting me, and for helping me to set boundaries and helping me to carry forward with my commitments. The masculine is what brings it into the world of form. So we can have all of these incredible downloads and ideas and beautiful visions, but without that masculine, we can't bring it out into form. The masculine is the action. It's what takes that aligned action, what brings our beautiful creations out into the world. And that's something to be highly revered and respected as well. So if you're listening to this and maybe you felt a little bit triggered by it, chances are there's a place within you unconsciously that is still latching onto this old paradigm of what the masculine is. And we're no saints. We're no saints. The feminine has had a lot of her own shadow that we've had to work through, of where we have manipulated with our sexual energy. The feminine can get quite swampy and overextended emotional states. And the masculine lifts her out of that, helps her get back up on her feet so she can carry forward. Within and without, like the masculine within me, when I'm going through a time, like, I call upon him. I call upon that warrior energy, that king energy within me to lift me up, to lift me out of it. But then I lean on my husband, my external representation of the masculine, to support me and moving through what I'm moving through, to help me get back on my feet, to, get back to my work, or, have that difficult conversation that I need to have with whoever it is that maybe I'm going through something with, So, yes, let's celebrate Friday the 13th. Let's celebrate this divine feminine magical day. But then what if tomorrow, to really anchor in that sacred union template, that divine masculine, divine feminine union, what if tomorrow we do a lingam puja, a lingam worship? Or what if tomorrow you just really sit and ground in with the energy of the masculine, of God, and speak to that sky daddy, speak to that father sky, and just sit with his beautiful presence? What if? So I'm hoping that this conversation served you well and opened some things up for you, gave you some ahas, some activations. And if you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a sister. And I also want to let you know that I have opened up mentorship spots for private mentorship with me. The masculine and the feminine is very much a foundation of what I teach, of how I work with clients, and who I work specifically with is women who know that they're here to anchor a light, know that they're here for a reason, to bring their sacred work out into the world, even if they don't quite know what that looks like yet, but they know they have a lot of their own inner healing to do. And so a big part of the work that I do is help you connect deeper with your womb space, because that's where your divine feminine wisdom is, and help you really reclaim that feminine power, really reclaim that power and that magic that you maybe haven't felt safe to really step into up until this point. So send me an email, or I also in the show notes will give a link for where you can look at my different options to work with me, or send me a private message on Facebook. There is an option that I don't have on my website. So as always, just contact me and we can explore what is the most aligned for you and to make sure that we're right fit for each other. So I'm sending you so many beautiful divine feminine worshiping vibes today, and I also hope that you really anchor in that divine masculine presence within you as well. I love you. Have a beautiful weekend.